storage. And so at that time I said I was going to do a video to kind of follow up with that discussion so that be a little more visual for people to see. Throw it up on the YouTube channel, and of course I'll link this over on the blog as well. So first off, why Mylar? I want to do a little talk about that, just to cover some of the stuff we talked about before on the podcast. But the main reason to use Mylar is Mylar bags for storage is just the long-term capabilities of them. And that begs the question, of course, why long-term? Why would we store? We can just go to the grocery store and buy it every week. What do we need to store it for? So just want to talk a little bit real quick to a couple situations that you may want long-term food storage for. One, a WROL situation, a without rule of law situation. Any kind of situation where you have lack of grid power or transportation for whatever reason. You have a breakdown in society. All those things, generally food is the first thing that starts to disappear real fast. Grocery store clears out, is cleaned out in about 3 days. Most places, that's all they have for food there. They don't have a big warehouse out back that keeps a big pile of food that they restock the shelves with. It's called on-time delivery. And when they realize they need something, they call a truck up and call a company, and the truck shows up the next day and they restock their shelves. So there's only about 3 days worth of food in a grocery store. And especially when people start panic buying, it disappears really fast. So that's one of the situations. Not necessarily, we're not talking zombie apocalypse here. We're just talking about any situation where the grid is compromised. It could be natural disaster. It could be any kind of social unrest. Just there's a lot of possibilities. And the other time when you may want to have some long-term food storage is just in case life happens. We go through all kinds of different seasons in our lives, and sometimes we come on hard times. You lose a job, or you have issues with family. There's so many situations where you could be hard pressed for money and you just can't afford to buy food all of a sudden. You're just struggling to pay the bills and pay the mortgage or what have you. And knowing you've got some food that you can fall back on for a month or 2 months or a year or whatever you've managed to put away, that's a real comfort. And it might be boring, it might not be real exciting food, but you can live on it. So that's another situation where it's good to have it around. We can talk a little bit about what you would store. I think that's probably good. You're mostly looking at dried goods and kind of what we call crap food. Things like rice, beans, pasta, all that kind of stuff stores really well when it's dry, and keep the oxygen off of it, the light off of it, and it'll store in Mylar, and it'll store for 20, 30 years, no problem. And that's pretty impressive, I think, to be able to store food for that long. So I've got behind me here, I've got some already started in bags, so you can see different things. We've got, I'll show you, we've got, let's see what we got in this one. We got some soldier beans in this one, we've got a little bag of pasta, a couple bags of rice, and I've got another bag of rice there I've got to do up, so so that's what we're doing here tonight, I'm working on. So why Mylar? I guess that's the next question. Why Mylar? Why can't we just stick this stuff in a bucket or stick this stuff in a plastic bag and call it good? I mean, this stuff came from the store in a plastic bag. What's wrong with that? Few things. 3 things that compromise food quality. Oxygen, light, moisture. Those 3 things. Light, of course, UV rays and all that sort of stuff break down the quality of the food. Oxygen and moisture work at pulling the nutrients and things like that out of it. Moisture, obviously, you're susceptible to mold and mildew and all those kinds of things. So first, the other thing is Mylar is cheap. You can have a vacuum sealer and you can do a lot of these other things. Mylar is pretty inexpensive. You don't need any special equipment to do this. We do all the sealing with this, with the household iron that you'd iron your clothes with. So that's one of the other reasons. O2 absorbers are really cheap, and they're very inexpensive, especially if you shop around. Couple different things. You've got different kinds of bags, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and just different types of bags and things that you would use. So I've got a couple types here. This one here, most common, we use these a lot at our house. This is a 1 gallon Mylar bag. Maybe I should explain. Mylar is made out of a couple sheets of polyethylene and a sheet of aluminum foil. And the aluminum foil is sandwiched in between the very thin layers. It's a very thin layer. You don't just want metallized polyethylene. That's not good enough because it's not completely clear. You can kind of see through it. You need something that completely blocks the light and UV rays. So you need good quality Mylar. This stuff is 5.4 millimeters. So this is about the thickest you can get. Okay, and pretty high quality. This type here comes with a Ziploc in them. You can see that, it's got a Ziploc. We like that so that, because this is a fair bit of food, you get that full of rice, and that's going to last you a while. It's nice to be able to seal that back up temporarily, or use it for short-term storage, and you don't have kind of an open top that could get stuff in it. But there's enough material on the top here that you can seal it for long-term storage. Okay. So that's one type of bag. These are kind of nice. They've got the split bottoms so that they sit up nice and everything else. If you're going for some more bulk stuff, we've got some of these. These are, you can see that in the camera. These are 6 gallon bags. These I would use. We're planning on using these more for things like wheat storage. We grind our own grain and stuff, but we'd like to store a little bit more of that bulk, and so we would use this, put this in a 5 gallon pail, fill it up, seal it, put the top in the pail, and stack it somewhere. You could do anything in this, but this is a lot of rice at one time. Another important thing with Mylar, is don't fold it. So you can kind of roll it up or bend it over, but leave it like that. Don't fold it sharply. You'll get little creases and kinks, and that can put little small holes through the Mylar and actually compromise its ability to keep out oxygen and moisture and things. That's important. So keep that in mind when you buy it, especially if you're ordering online. Getting from a reputable company that knows how to ship this properly so that it's not going to be damaged is very important. And then the next important thing that goes with this is not just the bags. The bags are one aspect, but there's still oxygen inside that bag once you have it sealed up. So what are you going to do with that, right? You can't suck it out. A vacuum sealer does that. How do you get it out of this? So what you have is something called an oxygen absorber, or an O2 absorber for short. And I've got some here in 2 different ways. I've got some in this bottle. I also have some the way they came from the company when I bought them. All vacuum sealed in this package with a little indicator. You see that little indicator? It's pink, so that means that there's no oxygen in there. These are still good. When that turns purple, you know that this has been compromised. And I actually had the company I bought this from, I had one of the bags arrived and it wasn't sealed, it wasn't vacuum sealed, and that was purple. And so I knew the bag, something had happened to the bag and it wasn't sealed properly. I wrote the company and they ended up sending me replacement for no charge for those, which I thought was pretty good of them. So what I've done is, of course, there's there's maybe 120 or 50, I think there's 50 in those. That's a lot of O2 absorbers. If you're not going to do a large amount at a time, then you have to do something once you open them. And so what I did is I placed them in just a mason jar with a nice, good quality lid on it, and I took the indicator out of that, and I threw that's been like that for almost, excuse me, 2 years now. Never changed. So yeah, there's a little oxygen in there that it's going to absorb, but not as much as what there is in there for O2 absorbers. So that's how you can keep the extra ones that you don't use right away. So yes, let's get back. What's an oxygen absorber? So what is an O2 absorber? Well, basically it's a little packet that has iron oxide in it. And when it's exposed to oxygen, that iron oxide attracts and absorbs it in. And if you put that in a sealed container, it's going to basically create a vacuum inside of that container. I've got one here. I'm just going to show you so you know what it looks like when it's all done. This is rice. You can see how it's all sucked in. Like this is rock hard almost, where it's pulled all the air and sucked it into those little packets. So now we're going to go into how they're packaged, and I'll show you the whole process of how that's done. Basically, I just got my bag here, and it's all opened up. I'm going to fill it up. Make sure I leave enough space at the top so I can get it sealed, get it squeezed together. So that's one. So now I've got a whole bunch more to do. Alright, so I guess I didn't have that many more to do, just 3. So now I'm going to put my O2 absorbers in, and we'll get it all sealed up. So usually what I do is I use, these are 500 cc's. I use one 500 cc per package for 1 gallon. Obviously for larger ones, 5 gallon, you're going to need quite a bit more. Somewhere in the range of 2,000 or so, depending on the size of your pail. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to throw an extra one in to the macaroni, just because there's so much oxygen in there, because all those little holes going all through it. I want to make sure it vacuum seals properly. Seal this back up so I don't ruin these ones that I've got left. And I'm going to seal all these Ziplocs. The other thing that's important to remember when you're doing this is what's in everything. Because once these get sealed up, they can be a little hard to identify what's inside. You don't want to have to open 14 of these or 10 of these to figure out where you put your macaroni. So I know I've got rice up to here, so I'm going to mark just on the corner of the bag what they are. I use a little code, R for rice, SB for soldier beans, MAC for macaroni. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, so we're ready to do our sealing up. I've got my iron here. I've got it all heated up. It's pretty hot. And a couple ways you can do this. You just need a hard heat-resistant surface basically to do this on. We've got granite countertops here at the house, so I just found I could do it right on the corner of the granite, and it worked great. You may need a flat metal bar or a level or something like that you can lay them across and use to heat. Just look around and be a little creative in what you've got. It's really quite simple. Take your bag, and remember you're not trying to heat the Ziploc part, you're just trying to heat that stretch above. If you can, you're trying to leave a little bit of space that's not sealed so that you can cut it off above your Ziploc and still be able to open it up. Alright, so there you can see I've got a good seal all the way across. If you can get on a corner, it's even better. I'm going to check that again just on this end, but it looks like it's pretty good. Oh yeah, that's all the way through. So that's done. Nothing more you need to do that. Set that there. I usually leave them overnight so that to make sure they look like that. But no, they're not. They're all good and sealed. All right, let's get through the rest of them. All right, as you can see, I was kind of being extra careful there to make sure I got all the way to the edges on them. It's pretty easy to not get all the way to the edges and have, you know, a little bit of air leak by. So make sure you get all the way across, nice good seal. But that was it, and that didn't take very long, and that much more food ready to go. And what I do, I usually then store it in a pail like this. I put 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever I can fit in a pail, and then stick a top on it. And it doesn't really seal it any, but it does keep it from getting bumped or banged, or maybe having the plastic with a Mylar poked with something and getting damaged or broken. And then they're easy to stack too. You put a cover on them, you can stack them up however high, and they're easy to do. I think that's it. I think that's all. All I really have to say about that. A couple places you can look on Amazon, eBay. There's all kinds of other websites as well that carry Mylar and O2 absorbers. Go to USAEmergencySupply.com. That's where I got my stuff. They have a lot of good stuff there. Really high quality. They shipped it really well. Fast shipping. I think they're cheap. Their shipping for Mylar and O2 absorbers is just under $5 flat rate anywhere in continental US. So if you have a US Post Office box, that works great, like it does for me. You have to check their shipping for outside of Canada. I'm not sure. They also have a lot of articles on there and different things talking about why to store and how to store, and a lot of good information, more detailed information than I gave you on O2 absorbers and Mylar. I think that's everything. Thank you for watching. Go check out, if you're here on my YouTube channel, go check out my blog. If you're with my blog, go check out my YouTube channel. Check out Slamfire Radio. All those links are here somewhere on the screen at various times. So, thank you for watching.